Hi guys, welcome, and I am super excited to share this recipe with you today. We are making these intensely buttery shortbread biscuits, but with a twist because we are also going to add cream cheese to this. There's just 4 ingredients that you need to make these cookies, and they are going to be so perfect with a cup of tea. So let's get cracking. We'll start first by mixing our butter on the highest speed setting of your electric beaters. You want the butter to be softened and at room temperature. I've used salted butter because I love the flavor of salted butter, but you can use unsalted butter if you wish, but don't forget to add a tiny pinch of salt in there as well. So you'll mix this for 2 minutes. You'll see that it goes really light and fluffy, changes in color, becomes pale. Now into this, we'll add our full fat cream cheese in there. It's at room temperature also. And now we'll go back in with our electric beaters again for a total of 2 minutes more. But you won't mix it for 2 minutes in one go. You'll mix it first for a minute on the highest speed setting of your electric beaters. Then you'll scrape the sides and the bottom of the bowl with your spatula. And then you'll go back in with your electric beaters again on the highest speed setting for another 2 minutes, and you will start to notice that this mix really increases tremendously in volume and it becomes super pale, light and fluffy. You can see just how pale and fluffy that has gone, and that is perfect. I'll scrape the sides and the bottom of the bowl again just to make sure everything is well combined, and look at how fluffy and luxurious that looks. That is looking perfect. So now we'll go ahead and sift in our icing sugar or confectioner's sugar. Now I love sifting the icing sugar because as you can see, it is starting to create a lot of little lumps in there, and if you don't mix this really well and if you don't sift it really well, it won't mix very well with the butter and the cream cheese. So make sure you're sifting it so it's nice and smooth. Now before you go back in with your electric beaters, make sure that you're just gently folding in the icing sugar to mix with the butter and the cream cheese mix. This is just to ensure that the icing sugar doesn't go flying all over the place when you go back in with your electric beaters. Now with your electric beaters on the highest speed setting, you'll go in for 3 minutes and whip this till it becomes incredibly light and fluffy and will almost start to look like buttercream frosting. However, as we did before, we won't go in for a full 3 minutes in one go. We'll go for a minute and a half, that is halfway through, and then we'll stop the electric beaters and I'll scrape the sides and the bottom of the bowl just to collect everything in one place again. We'll go back in with our electric beaters on the highest speed setting for another minute and a half, so for a total of 3 minutes then. And towards the end of that 3-minute mark, you'll start to see a really intense difference in how this texture looks. Now I am going to sift in my all-purpose flour. I'll just sift it in, and that is our final ingredient to make these intensely buttery shortbread cookies flavored with cream cheese. And these are going to be the best shortbread cookies that you have ever tasted. Now, like we did with the icing sugar, we won't directly go in with our electric beaters because the all-purpose flour is going to fly all over the place. So you'll gently fold in the all-purpose flour and hydrate it ever so slightly, and then you'll go in with your electric beaters, this time though on the lowest speed setting for just about 15 to 20 seconds, and only until it starts to come together into a dough. You absolutely do not want to overwork the dough here or develop the gluten in the all-purpose flour. Now all we have to do is shape the cookies and then let it rest for some time before baking them. So I am going to spread this out into a 20 to 21 centimeter long log, which also has about 3 centimeters of height. So just keep rolling it as you would with your fingers, with your clean hands. I just like to measure it with a scale. So I have about 21 centimeters and I'm going to cut these into 1 centimeter cookies. So I'll get about 21 cookies from this recipe. So I'll just fold it like this and roll it with my parchment paper to help give it that beautiful log shape. I'll just gently but firmly roll this into a tight little log, and then I'll unroll the parchment paper. Now you can just roll it and wrap it and refrigerate. What I have found is that once refrigerated, I find it slightly difficult to slice into the cookies. So I slice them first. I then place it on my baking tray that's lined with parchment paper, and I'll place them pretty close to each other because I'm not baking them just yet. They need to be kept in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour so that the dough can rest. So first we'll pop this in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour. But if you can have the patience to have this refrigerated for at least 24 hours, that'll be great. I certainly lack the patience. So sometimes I just leave this for at least 1 hour. And 15 minutes before we are ready to bake these cookies, you'll preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Now, I've taken these cookies out straight from the refrigerator, so they're really nice and cold, and they'll go in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 14 minutes, and you'll turn the tray halfway through the baking process so they're evenly baked and they develop this beautiful golden brown color along the edges. And then you let this sit in the tray for some time after they are baked for about 15 to 20 minutes, then transfer it to a wire rack to cool down completely. And I also bake them about 8 to 10 at a time because I do not want to bake these all in one go. They don't spread as much, but you still want to place them slightly away from each other. These cream cheese shortbread biscuits are super flaky and buttery, and they just pair so well with a cup of tea or coffee. Now, if you like the addition of cream cheese in these flaky, buttery shortbread biscuits, you should definitely check out my lemon cream cheese pound cake video recipe. You are going to love it.